gentlemen, welcome to Ariel Helwani's MMA Show!
Post-show time on this Monday, January 7, 2019. Boy, did I botch that at the beginning of the show, right? I said 2017. If I would have said 2018, I feel like that would have been acceptable, but for some reason I went 2 years back. Very strange. Not really sure why I did that, but nevertheless, I did it. Here we are. First post-show of the year. So much has changed. So much is better. We've got a YouTube channel, an Instagram, a Twitter. Unbelievable. Wow, we have come a long way in the last 7 months. And they're all ESPN MMA, by the way. So it's ESPN MMA on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. So much going on, as always, in the world of MMA, and especially when you're off for a couple of weeks. Now, technically, we weren't off. We had the New Year's Eve show on ESPN2 last week. Then 2 weeks ago, we had the Christmas Eve show. But you get the point. A lot has happened. So without further ado, that is York Ric. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I am doing okay. We have a lot to discuss. Let us get into it. We heard from Colby Covington on the show today.
Fired up.
So, two things. No gimmick, no MAGA, and fired up. Even ended it with an FU to the UFC.
Yeah.
Now, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here, but behind the scenes, you've told me that, you know, the act was wearing a little thin for you. What do you think of him today?
Sincere. See, here's the problem. I thought this was clearly, no doubt about it, the most sincere. I don't think that's even arguable. It's absolutely objectively true that this was the most sincere Colby Covington we saw. The problem is, I also think it's the least polarizing. I also think it's the one that's not going to draw the attention of the people that he wants to draw the attention of, that has gotten him to this point. He has been hated. He has been the heel. He has been playing that up successfully to this point. It is the reason why when anybody does a poll on who they want to see Tyron Woodley fight next, yourself included, he is the answer. I don't know that this is going to be the one that does polarize people and rally them behind his cause. I actually think that the character works best for what his motivation is at the moment. To me, I identify most with this. I see this. I understand this. I get why he's upset. I think he has a completely legitimate case to be in that title shot. There's no reason that date couldn't work for both Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington, and that he shouldn't be in there as somebody who held the interim belt. I just think that the gimmick is the one that people will grab onto and be more behind, to be honest.
So I see him getting a lot of love and a lot of support.
That would be the opposite of what has been happening to this point.
Sure.
Or split. It's been more split.
Well, it's unbelievable. Like, leave it to the UFC to turn this guy into a sympathetic figure. It's amazing to me. And, you know, I actually think one kind of funny thing, I'm not sure if Colby understands what accurate means, because I think that he was misunderstanding when I was saying accurate. I don't mean, you know, that I agree with it when I say accurate. I mean that it's
factually true.
Yes. So I believe, based on the people that I've talked to, that he is being punished, if you will, if you want to call it punished, or he's being skipped over, because of the fact that after Usman defeated RDA, he said, I'll fight in January. I don't care who. Colby, Tyron, give me someone. January 19th, January 26th. UFC loved that, right?
Yeah.
And Colby was like, I'll fight January. I'll fight January 19th. I'll fight January 26th. But I'm going to fight Tyron Woodley because that's what you promised me. Why would I fight a top contender who's a killer instead of fighting the champion? Why don't I just wait an extra month and a half, right? I don't think he's wrong.
He's holding a belt.
Right. But they said, hey, we like the fact that this guy's going to fight. We like the fact that this guy's banged up and he's going to fight Kamaru Usman. You're getting a title shot. To me, I don't understand how you do business like that. I don't understand. As a sports organization, I don't understand how you make that call. It's the wrong call. It's the wrong call from a promises kept standpoint.
Sure.
It's the wrong call from a business standpoint, because I do believe that Colby versus Woodley, and they'll say, because I know they've said this, Colby's not a draw, or they'll say this, Colby and Usman are the same kind of draw. But this is what you're forgetting. You can't look at draws as singular entities.
It's the fight.
It's the fight.
Yeah.
DC and Jones on their own historically aren't the biggest draws.
No.
Together they're magic, right? And Chael and Anderson on their own weren't big draws. Together they were magic, right? Jose Aldo wasn't a big draw, but with Conor McGregor, it was magic.
Yeah.
Colby versus Woodley, 100%, I would put my mortgage on it, is a bigger fight monetarily than Usman versus Woodley. Am I wrong?
I would agree with you.
So what are you doing? What message are you trying to send?
Yeah.
That if we promise you a title shot and the champion is unavailable, you better take the next fight that we offer you.
Yeah.
Or else the title fight's gone. I just don't think that that's the right way of going about things.
It would seem to be against their own best interest from a business standpoint. Unless the only other thing is if there was a promise also made to Kamaru Usman that counters the promise that was made to Colby Covington. You know,
what kind of promise? I mean, the guy's walking around with an interim title. What kind of promise?
The promise that he gets that title shot and
after beating RDA. Well, now you're making promises to multiple people.
That's the only situation. That's the only scenario in my mind that this makes sense because I'm with you. I think for business, Colby Covington versus Tyron Woodley is the fight.
How do we go from going to the White House in September?
Yeah.
It's only January. No, August. Excuse me. So what was that? 5 months ago.
Yeah.
At best. How do we go from that to this? It's unbelievable. It's an unbelievable turn of events. It really is.
Now, I mentioned this a little bit before the show, but maybe this is something we can explore. Does this actually make him a more valuable property, a more valuable commodity in people being sympathetic toward him? Does that further his cause so that when it does happen, if it does happen, he is going to have more support behind him?
Well, to your point earlier, that's not what you want out of Colby Covington.
Yeah,
you want the bad guy.
You want the bad guy versus Tyron.
So I think the bad guy will come. And the funny thing is that Colby has some heat with Usman. It's not the same kind of heat. So I think that the best case scenario for the UFC, I'm not rooting for this. If I'm the UFC, you want Woodley to win, you want Colby to win, you want them to fight. International Fight Week, right? Given the timeline, I think that's what you want. And I think today, I agree. Today was the right time to put the gimmick aside, shoot from the heart, shoot from the hip, tell us how you're feeling, put your emotions out there, be a little sympathetic. But then as the fight ramps up, this is a joke fight. I'm the real champ. They're the paper champs, etc.
I'm for it. I think that's the strategy. I mean, he doesn't have an alternative. This is what the situation is, and now he has to adjust. This
fight has been so hard to put together. And why does it seem like every Tyron Woodley fight is so hard to put together? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's never the opponent that he wants.
No.
Right? It's always something. And finally, we've gone to a point where the stars align and Colby and Tyron are ready and they both want to fight on this date. Make the fight. Please.
With all due respect and credit to Kamaru Usman, who has put together an incredible resume, absolutely deserves a title shot, but you have this window to make this fight. That is the fight to make.
So
I agree with
Ali
you.
calls me last week and says Kamaru's really mad at you because he feels you're putting out this poll. He feels like you're going to bat for Colby. And I said, wait, every time I've talked about this, I said Kamaru should not fight anyone else. He is, I think, 14-1.
Yeah.
He has won, I think, 10 in a row. Done. You should not fight anyone else. You fought in November, which was a month ago, right? November 30th.
Look dominant,
and we're banged up.
Yep.
Right? Chill. Fight happens in March. Fight the winner in July.
Yeah.
Great timeline. I'm not advocating that he should fight Santiago Ponzinibbio or anyone like that. No way. Just chill out for a
It's
sec.
a hard case to make to Kamaru Usman and his management, but to everybody else, that timeline is the one that makes the most sense.
This has been brewing for a year and a half.
Colby,
I have no dog in this race. I don't care.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees. I did a poll with 75,000 votes.
Yeah.
We've been doing these polls a long time. I don't think we ever beat 40.
Yeah.
35. I don't think we ever got to 40.
No, I don't think we have.
75,000. 79% voted in favor of Colby Covington. How is this possible? Why? Because you didn't step up and take the fight that we wanted? Why in the world would Colby Covington take that fight? Why?
No, it doesn't make sense. The same way it doesn't make sense for Kamaru Usman to take a fight. They are in similar scenarios.
Yes.
It does not make any sense.
Yeah.
But this is the fight we get. And look, on paper, I'm not mad about it. It's a great fight. But the time and the window presented itself for Covington versus Woodley, and that was the fight to make.
I don't feel like we should be in a position. Like, again, proves that the interim belts are a joke. Proves that the rankings are a joke.
Yeah.
What are these things now? If they're not tickets to get what we ultimately all want in this game, us being fighters,
yeah,
title shots, then what is the point?
No.
Right? You're putting an interim title fight. Historically, that means your next fight is for the belt.
Yeah, it doesn't represent anything concrete or significant.
That will go down as one of the greatest shams in the history of the sport. That interim title fight happening
that specific one,
when it shouldn't have happened. You remember, no one wanted it to happen for the interim belt, and then he gets it,
and then stripped,
stripped. Yeah, and then he doesn't get the fight.
Yeah.
And you remember when he was stripped, it's like, oh, when he's ready to come back, he's gonna get.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I don't know.
So I look at that card and everyone's like geeking out about the card, but there's a bit of a cloud for me.
Yeah, but that card's pretty. That card's pretty magical. I'm excited about that one.
What about the decision to go with Smith over Anderson?
Yeah,
both on 3 fight winning streaks. Both have fought similar competition in terms of ranking, although the Volkan Ozdemir win for Anthony Smith probably gives him
the highest rank.
Like if you added the 3 rankings together, but Anthony had 3 finishes. Corey did not.
That's what I think it comes down to. I think it comes down to Anthony Smith has the momentum on the basis of the names he's beaten, and Corey Anderson made a great point today on talking about, look, those names are legends of the sport, but they're not the guys who are in their prime right now, and there is a tendency to equate those wins to something else. But the win over Volkan Ozdemir and being able to finish the fight is what I think is significant. To me, it feels like Anthony Smith has the momentum. He has the wind at his sails, and it feels like Corey Anderson doesn't. Now, I think Corey Anderson is right there. I think that with a statement win, there's no doubt he gets into that position. And it also seems like Jon Jones is game to give him that opportunity that he's been campaigning for. But to me, Smith has the momentum, and the shot should be his.
So the 3 opponents for Corey Anderson: Patrick Cummins, Glover Teixeira, Ilir Latifi.
All solid wins.
For
Top
Smith,
of the division.
Rashad Evans, Shogun Rua, Volkan Ozdemir.
Yeah. Comparable to me. Because of the strength of the Ozdemir win.
Yeah.
And
the Volkan and Glover to me are kind of equal. Both former title challengers, no?
I think Ozdemir, yeah.
Okay. So then we've got Shogun Latifi.
I think it's more that the Shogun and the Rashad wins are lower on this spectrum, no doubt about it. But to me, the Ozdemir win is the one that puts it above. And also, we said it's finishes. Anthony Smith is going up to 205 and finishing fights and making it look good. It's hard to argue with style points when all things else are equal.
Anthony Smith has 13 losses on his record. He, up until last year when he turned it around, was somewhat of a journeyman. Has fought all over the world and whatnot. It feels like he's the ultimate David going up against Goliath. Like, this is a true Rocky story, and it feels like this is almost the way Jon Jones has to lose, right? Like, I could almost envision this shocking moment where it's like, Anthony Smith just pulled off the greatest upset. You know what I mean? Like,
the guy who was never in the division, and all of a sudden he comes up.
I mean, his name is just Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
Very sort of middle of the road, right? It almost seems poetic.
It would definitely be shocking. I believe, wait, let me see. I think odds are out on this one.
Already?
I think it is. No. Oh, actually, there's a few books, and he's roughly in the minus 600 range, Anthony Smith in the plus 400 range. So a big favorite for Jon Jones. But yeah, no doubt about it. If that was the outcome, it would be a shocking one. But I think it's hard to deny. That division didn't really have anybody who was putting their stamp on it and saying, I am the number 1 contender. I think Anthony Smith was able to do that, and I think he deserves that shot. Sure. And Corey Anderson is right there. Look, to me, it seems the story to me is less about who the contenders are and more about the fact that Jon Jones is adamant about sticking to light heavyweight and saying, I'm going to knock off these contenders. Daniel Cormier, if you want to come down here and face me, let's do it. But otherwise, I'll be right here ruling this division. That is more interesting.
Wants to fight 3-4 times this year. What a shot in the arm that would be for the UFC if they can get 3 to 4 Jon Jones fights, because all indications are he killed it at 232. I had trouble with that all day. 232, 232, 232. 233 is gone.
Eliminated.
Well, they didn't cancel it. They postponed it.
Postponed.
But it's never happening. It might come back at a later date, but the next one is 234.
Yeah.
Anyhow, 232. So he killed it. Imagine getting 3 to 4. Like, imagine getting a Jon Jones fight in March, then in July, and then you could probably get 3. And maybe you could squeeze in a quick turnaround here in a pinch. But yeah,
I think he could go. I think he could get it 4 in.
Okay, so then let me ask you. Now that we never really got to talk about 232.
Sure.
What did you make of all of that? How it was handled?
Oh boy, what did I make of how it was handled? I mean, it feels like forever ago now. To be honest, No, I think the fighters, have a legitimate cause for griping. Corey talking about, or was it Kat? It was Kat,
yeah, and
talking
Corey.
about the fact that it shows, where the allegiances are and what they think of the other fighters, that they were willing to move this event. Now, based on the pay-per-view returns or the estimated pay-per-view returns, it seems like it was the move to make. It's hard to argue with the result there.
Yeah.
Jon Jones coming back and Amanda Nunez versus Cris Cyborg did what it was supposed to do. So, obviously a very tough decision, but the event provided great moments, and the end result seems to justify the means.
Yeah. I feel like it's a story that will continue to unfold. He has the hearing on January 29th.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that Dana would come out and tell TMZ that the Smith fight was done. I mean, January 29th is 22 days away at this point, 23 days, or actually 24 days when he actually told TMZ. I'd love to know the thought process behind breaking that news on a Saturday night in the middle of the NFL playoffs. It just doesn't seem like the most opportune time to break news of that caliber. But nevertheless, it seems interesting because we have this hearing coming up on January 29th, and we thought that they're going to be talking about it. Not necessarily a disciplinary hearing. Like, they didn't say that they're going to, fine him or suspend him. But I feel like if I'm Nevada, well, there's two ways. It's either like a make good for Nevada, or if I'm Nevada, I'm like, hey, you're announcing these fights. You're talking about these fights. We still haven't had our hearing that we talked about.
Yeah, but the fight is announced in their jurisdiction, and they get the rub there.
You think that they had?
I think that there's an understanding that this is going to be good business for them, and it makes sense. At this point, it seems academic, right? It doesn't seem like there's any real consequences of what's going to happen. It seems like there wasn't an ability to have the hearing and license him in time, but I don't think there's any concern about him getting a license, at least as far as the outside perception.
Yeah.
He was able to fight in California, and now I imagine they will discuss this situation, but I don't imagine it will hold him up.
I don't have the mental strength to go over all of that. I still have a million questions about what was said, how it was handled. It does feel like it was a year ago. I put a lot of my thoughts out there via various forms of media, but I still feel like it's a story that we're not going to hear the end of. And most importantly, the precedent that was set. Like, what if this happens to someone who is, lesser known, who's less of a draw?
But is that a precedent? It seems like these cases are being handled in a way that is specific to certain fighters, or in a way that is arbitrary. Yeah. We have had cases like this in the past, and that didn't set the precedent, right?
Well, when Frank Mir says this thing, like the whole thing is this is a second. They're saying, we can't do double jeopardy. Like, that was Frank Mir's first offense.
Yeah.
So I don't view his situation the same as Frank Mir, because that was Frank's first time. This was his second time for the same infraction. That's why they're not. If this was his first time, he would be. But why did he, get 15 months and not 2 years?
That's what I'm saying.
All that stuff.
These numbers and punishments seem to be not based on a sliding scale or some kind of rubric where you could say if this happens, this is what you're going to get. There is subjectivity involved. There are other things at play, so it makes it difficult. I don't know if this will be the precedent. That'd be great if there was a uniform way to dole out these types of things, but I don't imagine that that's going to be possible.
I just want to give Jon a piece of advice. If he does interviews about this, stop saying it's just a picogram. It's a picogram per milliliter, which is a big difference. And as I was trying to explain to Corey, no one is claiming that you ingested a picogram. They're saying that is what's coming out, right? So there's a big difference. You're not literally taking this grain of salt that you cut up in 50 ways. That's just what's coming out of your system. Another big difference. So I just want, I don't think it helps him when he does the whole, pictogram, picogram. I don't believe that he can't remember these words. This is his livelihood that we're talking about. This is his body that we're talking about. He is a professional athlete. He's considered the greatest of all time in his sport. I would imagine that you treat your body with a lot of care and respect. So I just want him to sound educated when he talks about this and not seem blasé.
I understand that. I do think from this point on, I don't think that the minutia, the nuance of it is going to be the focus anymore.
Yeah, but what if it comes up again?
Well, you know what? Honestly, I still think that it will be this blanket feeling. It will be this conversation about Jon Jones in general and the testing procedures. I don't think that it will go very specifically into this scientific realm because I think people are sick of it. It has just been exhausted.
Oh,
this 232 fight week was exhausting from that perspective. I think people are willing to put this to bed and just focus on the larger picture, which I don't think means that it's not a conversation about Jones and not a conversation about testing and not a conversation about him in relation to that. But I think the minutia, the nuance, I think we can move away from that, and I think people are sick of it.
What do you think happens with Cyborg? Does she get a title shot? Does she get a rematch?
If anybody deserves it.
Yeah, but we all know it.
I know, but
I love this idea that, it was pretty definitive when you gave it to Joanna, you gave it to Ronda, you gave it to Cody. These were all knockout losses.
I'm not one who advocates for immediate title shots. I don't see the value. I don't think Max Holloway versus Jose Aldo was particularly necessary. Cyborg versus Amanda Nunez.
She was that division. There is no featherweight division.
She is that division. I don't think Amanda's going to be having many fights at 145, just to be frank. I just don't think – I don't think there's a division that can sustain there. The winners of the tough show that was supposed to be for 145-pound females are going to be fighting at 135 pounds. Yeah. It just says everything about that division. I think you have to do a rematch. I don't see an alternative. Like
I wouldn't be surprised if she fought her last fight in the UFC.
That could, I mean, if not the rematch,
this is the perfect way to end it, right? For them.
Well, for them.
For them, yeah, for them.
Not for her.
There's in their mind, okay, we beat her, she's gone, close up the division. There's one person who's a true featherweight left, right, under contract.
Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Megan, but are you going to hold the whole division just for her?
No, it needs development. Invicta has some, but it is Bellator also has, but it is a very scarce division. It's hard to sustain. I think those are the two options, right? It's either got to be immediate rematch or gone. Like, I just don't see what would be the fight. Would it be Anderson versus Cyborg? What is the intrigue there at this point?
Number one contender fight, but
why?
Yeah.
For what? For what purpose? It just doesn't make sense. Unless there's an influx of talent to that division, it just doesn't make sense. Those are all the title fights to this point have been blown up 135ers.
Right. I don't want to see that.
I'm not interested. So Cyborg is in an interesting position. I don't think necessarily a bad one. I think the idea of her losing after all this time almost can let a little pressure off her shoulders, as terrible as it is to lose. She has been carrying that for a very, very long time. I think she'll be reinvigorated if it's in a rematch or outside the UFC. I think she'll come with a renewed focus. Not she's an incredible talent.
So well.
She's handling it super well.
So impressed with the video blogs and the way she was at the press conference.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Someone who is so unfamiliar with losing to handle it like that.
She has a very clear picture of life.
Yeah,
she has a very clear understanding of things that are important outside of the cage, and motivated as an athlete, but also motivated to do good in her community, to give back. There's so much more on her plate and so much more in the picture. She's handling it super well. It's like a champion would.
Yeah, it's really admirable. It's also a common theme I find among these fighters who go on these long winning streaks.
Sure.
They all seem sort of relieved.
That's what I was getting at before. There's a pressure that comes with having to maintain that. And every single time
Anderson, DJ, her, right?
Aldo, there's been plenty.
Yeah. Well, Aldo kind of was heartbroken. He handled it differently.
But because of who
and how 13 seconds.
It's a very look. I mean, Cyborg got blitzed.
Yeah.
Cyborg got blitzed. No doubt about it. That was a coffin nail that Amanda was throwing at her.
But I thought she was a lot more like Anderson or DJ.
Sure. Look, that one was a particularly tough one to swallow. But there is a pressure that comes with that, and I think that affected more than the reaction to it. I think that affected the way Jose performed.
Yeah.
I think that pressure made him perform in a way that caused that outcome. I think Cyborg will be fine, and I think she'll find a home, whether it's in the rematch or whether it's somewhere else.
Okay, so I want to quickly talk about Rizin, year-end event. The biggest news, of course, was that Kyoji Horiguchi beat Darren Caldwell.
Yeah.
He submitted him. Now they want to do a rematch, and obviously the ring proved to be problematic for Caldwell, who has never fought in a ring before, but it was a lot of fun seeing the Rizin champ go up against the Bellator champ. This is great. We need more of this in MMA. I think we can all agree. However, the most talked about thing was Floyd Mayweather defeating Tenshin Nasukawa in the exhibition boxing match, which just lasted 2 minutes. Now, I know this happened now more than 7 days ago at this point, but to me, this is fascinating because I still see people talking about it. So Floyd comes in there. It's very clear that he's not in tip-top Floyd shape. He's in great shape, but he's not in his, like, cut-up, I'm about to fight Canelo shape, but still looks great. But he's dancing. He's having fun throughout. He's letting loose a little bit in the intro. He's letting loose in the early portion of the fight and ends up knocking him down 3 times. And in the end, after the third one, I believe the towel was thrown in. The fight is called off. Nasukawa is crying. And everyone, as they often tend to do on social media, and in particular Twitter, they call it a fix. Now, I couldn't believe, when I saw this, I was like, what? Fix? Why in the world would Rizin sign Floyd, let's say it really was for $9 million, to come in there and make Nasukawa look like me, right?
Yeah.
Like a complete amateur. A guy who has 30-plus kickboxing fights on his record, undefeated, multiple MMA fights on his record, who's just 20 years old.
20 years old.
Why would you ask Floyd to come in there? Why would you pay Floyd to come in there and beat the crap out of him? Now, if Nasukawa would have taken him to the distance, if he was robbed of a decision, if he would have knocked him down, if he would have beat Floyd, that could be a fix. I get that because that benefits the promotion. Nasukawa's sticking around. Floyd's not. There's no business to be made from Floyd Mayweather anymore. Why in the world are people claiming fix?
Because they have a fundamental misunderstanding of business.
How this works.
Yeah, they don't understand this.
Oh, it gave me a headache.
Anybody claiming fix just doesn't understand why they have the fights. Doesn't understand that this is not a proving ground to showcase your best isolated from the business side of things. These two things are together. And this exhibition match was not made because we wanted to see who the best fighter between Tenshin and Floyd Mayweather was. It was made to be a spectacle. It was made to be an event. And it was. But no, that outcome is not one. If you were to fix a fight, that would be the outcome you'd choose if you were the promotion. It makes no sense. It's absolutely mind-boggling that anybody would even suggest that.
You've seen this, right?
I have seen it.
This is the prevalent thought.
Yes. I don't know if it's... I mean, I try to avoid as much of it as I can.
This is all I see. I mean, in the immediate aftermath, it's all I saw. This was a fix. This was a fix. All this stuff and more. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Fix? Why?
I don't have the answer for what the motivation would be for that.
In the world of pro wrestling, what you do, like back in the 70s and 60s, right? When pro wrestling was territorial, where there was like the Memphis territory and the Kansas City territory and the New York territory, Florida, you would have guys who would go from territory to territory. You would have your mainstays, like Jerry Lawler was the king of Memphis, right? But then you would have guys like Andre the Giant who would travel. And so eventually they would come to your territory and they would stay there for a couple months and they would do well. But they always lost on the way out because at the end of the day, the mainstay is a mainstay.
And has
That's
to draw.
the guy who you have to make money off of.
Yeah.
Nasukawa is Jerry Lawler, right? Floyd is Andre the Giant. Makes no sense.
No.
Now, is it possible, like if they're saying, look, all business is, or all PR is good PR, we're going to do this? I guess it's possible that they would have done it. If they did do it, that was idiotic.
But why that outcome? It just does not make sense as an outcome.
Yeah. Maybe Floyd said, I'm only coming in there if I starch him.
Seems like a bad gig for Nasukawa.
Yeah, why would he agree
the promotion, why would he agree to this?
And now people are eating up Connor's tweet. Like he's laughing at all of you.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Am I wrong? Like I saw people say, why aren't you calling him out for stealing Floyd's playbook? You remember the whole thing that we did about Khabib? I thought that was a joke. I didn't think it was a particularly funny joke.
The way he signed it off
Yeah.
is very clear that like this is not a serious tweet.
Right.
Connor tends to be a little more pointed if he's going to fire the shot. This seemed lighthearted to me.
I think Nasukawa thought, did he think it was real? I don't think
Well, we're dealing with translation here. We're dealing with
true.
different languages, crossing the ocean. But I don't make too much of it.
Yeah. And I certainly don't want anyone to think that was a fix because if I agree with you 100%, fundamental misunderstanding of A, how this business works.
Yeah.
Like how the fight game works. And B, like for the Japanese population, for that market, it would make absolutely no sense because Nasukawa is a big, big star there. And he's a draw.
I think it's important to say will remain. I don't think that this will damage his stock too much.
A little bit.
Certainly not the outcome, the best outcome.
Made him look human. You know, like he's superhuman. Right?
Absolutely.
He's the guy who does the flips. He does the crazy kicks.
I think
he's the highlight reel.
I think the other thing though that is important is wins and losses don't matter that much in that region. In that, you know, heroes are not built upon their undefeated records. Floyd Mayweather is an example of an American boxing story made entirely on the fact that he never lost. He was undefeated. Right. I don't think it matters as much. I don't think Tenshin's career will be diverted in any way by losses. He will lose, and it won't only be to Floyd Mayweather. He is very young. He will lose again in his career, and I think he will remain like legendary in status. It chipped away at the mythical kind of aura, but I don't think too badly.
Okay, we made our TV debut last week.
We did.
You were phenomenal. What was the TRT? The total running time? What was it, like
1 minute?
50? Was it actually 60 seconds?
Yeah.
Did we break 60?
We got at the clock with like 105.
Okay. Wow. There you were. I had to cut you off because you were going long. I mean, you were going to bleed into the actual countdown.
Look, I was talking too much. Yeah.
It was a total mess. But the main thing that you were supposed to do, in reality, we ran out of time, which is what I was talking about on the show. I didn't get a chance to go through all things because, you know, you go long, it's TV, all that stuff.
Yeah, you were telling Corey Anderson your sob story about how you didn't get to mention him. Yeah.
In reality, he wasn't on. I told him this. He was like, I did snub him in his mind. He should have been on. Yes,
he should have been on.
Yeah, he should have been on for at least comeback.
Yep.
Honorable mention. I don't think better than my choice, but honorable mention. Anyhow, supposedly you were supposed to come on and like actually, debate some of my picks. Are there any that you want to bring up in our
There
last
are some that are
few minutes
particularly
here?
egregious.
Okay, I'd love to hear them.
Let's talk about your round of the year.
Oh, so easy. This is the easiest one.
It is the easiest one. You're right. There is no doubt that the round of the year was Ferguson and Pettis round 2. There is not a debate. There is nothing you can say.
So you said this to me before. After hearing my explanation, you see where I was coming from?
I do.
Yeah.
And you're still wrong.
It's a non-traditional pick. It's not your classic slugfest.
When
When
I make a non-traditional pick, it's hipster.
No. No. Your hipster pick was the all-time worst.
I'll admit. Oh. Your reasoning, your justification.
I thought you were about to admit the Ronda Rousey pick was the worst.
Don't worry, I got one for comeback.
Okay. I can't wait.
I'll admit your justification made sense to me. I remember watching that fight. We're talking about Stipe. No, we're talking about Stipe and Francis Ngannou.
Round one. The tension was unbelievable.
Every moment of that fight, that round.
Yes.
Even though it wasn't that eventful, it wasn't like it was, a super slugfest. It was very slow paced, but every second did feel like there was a spring waiting to uncoil on both sides of the fence.
I was afraid to blink. You thought someone's head was going to fly off.
For one moment, the don't blink thing did feel real.
Yeah.
So I will grant you that.
And if you go back and watch it, at the very end of the first round, you know what Dominic Cruz says?
What does he say?
He goes, "Wow, what a round.
Yeah.
Thank you."
Yeah.
When you hear that?
When you watch Ferguson and Pettis round 2. Not even debatable.
That's your run-of-the-mill slugfest.
Run-of-the-mill?
No. When you talk about great rounds, obviously, they're all... But to me, when does a fight, and a round in particular, have that kind of tension? That kind of anxiety surrounding it? That kind of intrigue?
I had a dark horse one that was interesting.
Okay.
Aldo versus Stevens. It was a one-round fight, but that
wasn't
also...
it very short?
No. It went almost a round, but it had a very similar feel in terms of like these two sluggers were like...
This felt like Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan.
I grant you that.
It felt like these two behemoths.
I grant you, and you're wrong. It's Pettis and Ferguson round 2.
But am I as wrong as you thought I was?
No. Well, I remember the feeling, so I identify. I'm
being
with
there
you.
was different. I wasn't even in the actual arena. I was in the back, and I felt it.
So, most improved... I don't have a debate.
You're going to crap on Anthony Smith?
No. I'm going to give you some other people that were not mentioned that I think are worthy. Curtis Blades.
Yeah, but he ended up losing at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's okay.
Fair.
Improvement, I don't think necessarily means the same as have to win out your fights. Dustin Poirier, I think has really...
I mentioned him in my honorable.
Okay.
Yeah, today.
And then Ally Aquinta, who continues to kind of shore up his
Yeah,
game.
You're right. That's a good one.
Another one.
I like that one.
Now, here are the other two beefs that I've got.
Okay.
Comeback fighter.
Yep.
I think you know who I would pick. Based on my history.
Oh, God. Well, okay, this one's less bad than the Ronda Rousey. So for those that don't know, Mr. New York Ric picked Ronda Rousey as his comeback fighter of the year 2 years ago when she came back. When she came back to get smoked by Amanda Nunez. Why?
Yeah.
Just because she came back.
No.
That's why she was comeback fighter of the year.
Overcame some obstacles and some difficulties in her life.
So just the fact that she came back.
Yes, and
she didn't win the fight. In fact, she got
she
absolutely
didn't win the
annihilated, dominated.
Okay.
If I was some guy from California, I would say she got murked, right? That's what the cool kids say over there, right?
I think Alex Hernandez has been using that one.
Yes.
Lately.
So that one is just the worst of all time. I'm guessing you're going to say Jon Jones.
Jon Jones.
I don't hate it as much, but how do you pick that?
This is my reasoning.
All right.
Dealing with all that Jones has been dealing with, and a similar case, the logic goes back to the Ronda Rousey thing. Dealing with what he has been dealing with,
good. I'm happy you said
up
that.
into this fight,
Yeah.
he overcame
What?
significant what
Personal strife
personal troubles
that was brought upon by himself. Yes.
But yes, to get into the cage and have that type of performance.
Okay.
In this case, the performance, you can argue what look, there's no argument. Ronda Rousey's performance against Amanda Nunez was pitiful. It was a bad performance.
Right.
Jon Jones's performance against what is supposed to be his, greatest rival, second greatest rival, however you rank that, his toughest fight to date, looked absolutely flawless. He looked like he's never stepped out of the octagon. He looked like he was just catching the stride that he was on before. To me, that is a significant effort. That is a significant thing to come back from and to
Everything you're saying, replace Jon Jones's name, put in Max Holloway, and now you have real personal strife. Now you have depression. Now you have
Jon Jones wouldn't have been depressed. He's
listen.
Okay.
Depression over missing weight, right? Like, okay, of course, personal things happening to you. This is horrible, right? But I'm talking about actual, fight related stuff. The foot injury.
Yeah.
Frankie Edgar, March. Not making it to the scale against Khabib. Not making it to the scale against Brian Ortega. Add the depression. How is that not comeback? And if it's not Max, there was only one other choice, and it was Daniel Cormier. Ended the year getting knocked out, right? And then comes back and becomes fighter of the year. When does that ever happen?
Great choices to me,
Get out of
Jon
here.
Jones. And then walkout of the year.
Yes.
I have a huge beef. Not because it wasn't a great walkout.
Oh, yeah.
Andy Wynn's walkout was incredible.
Yeah.
But the opposite side of that fight was Miyu Yamamoto walking out right after the passing of Kid Yamamoto.
Who, by the way, I mentioned
the winner. That it was so powerful.
Okay, I don't want to argue against
That's
Kid Yamamoto,
a hard one.
so thank you very much.
I'm sorry to put you in that position.
But okay, in my defense, I will say okay. So you're saying that one great because I actually got a lot of heat for that one because people said it should have been Darren Till. But the Darren Till one was just like him walking out there. That was more for crowd, which by the way, I gave them crowd.
Yeah, Liverpool got crowd.
But he just walked out.
Yeah, that one didn't have the same feeling for me. I was very emotional seeing this.
That was great. Ready or not, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But Andy Wynn actually danced and danced pretty damn well.
Invicta got the posters.
Yeah.
Rizin could definitely get the walkouts, I think. The walkouts for Rizin have always been just top notch. They allow them the space and the capacity to do what they're going to do.
I couldn't agree more. And they don't feel cheap.
No. It seems like the fighters have the thought. The fighters are putting the thought and the effort into these things. And I think it shows. The Rizin walkouts are incredible.
Okay, so she danced. She danced really well.
Great dancing.
She had the props. She had the hat. She had the glove. All that stuff and more. And to me, it's like it's one thing to walk out. It's one thing to pick a great song. One thing to have a great video. But you're actually going to go through all that. And by the way, she ended up losing the fight.
Yeah.
I feel like she kind of overexerted herself with all that dancing. But it was just unbelievable. And then come to find out that it was to honor her friend Andrea Lee, who was just involved in this domestic violence situation because her husband refers to her as Annie. Annie, are you okay? So she's asking her friend, are you okay? I mean,
and now you have turned the tables on me, and I'm
just saying.
You could have been a co-winner, maybe.
Potential.
Okay.
But I gave a co-winner to submission. I didn't want to be sitting on the fence all over the place.
You did well this year. I felt,
Not so bad.
I felt good about
It was pretty good.
a lot of your picks.
I want to give a shout out to Kaposa,
Absolutely.
Grab a Hitman,
He deserves a
who
huge
actually
shout-out.
behind the scenes. I wrote this to him in public, and people thought that I was being facetious.
What did you say?
Well, he wrote something, I think it was about my fight of the year, and I was like, okay, as long as I have your vote of confidence, I feel good. Or maybe it was my round of the year where he's like, I see where you're coming from. He said, I see where you're coming from. He said, Whitaker, Romero, round 3 was the round, but I see where you're coming from, and it made me feel better.
Huh? His was Whitaker Romero round 3.
Go back and watch it.
No, I'm sure that I remember.
insane.
I remember that fight. I don't particularly remember that round, but
he got
to
dropped.
me, Ferguson Pettis was conventional wisdom. I feel like
Okay, but let me just
most
tell
people.
you.
Yes,
Kaposa, behind the scenes, I actually sent him my picks because that's how much I respect
you vetted him.
Yes.
with him.
I sent him every single one of my picks
Yeah.
and said, tell me if I'm crazy about any of these. So I really appreciate. I mean, if you don't follow him, Grabica _ Hitman. To me, he is just unbelievable at all. I mean, I've joked about him before that
Yeah.
he watches, Dubai.
That's
fighting
not a joke.
championships.
He does
watch
everything.
it, but the guy is just.
He is a
an
value
encyclopedia-
to the MMA
encyclopedic
community.
Mind. Yeah, yes, he truly is. Remember that one time that he got taken off Twitter?
Yeah, that was a disaster.
It was a total disaster.
And
I
we
felt
just
like
had
there was
that
a void.
happen with James Lynch.
but they rectified it.
They rectified it.
Yes. See?
But yeah, shout out to Kaposa for sure.
Yeah, so he helped me out. So once he said I was good,
He signed off on the picks.
I
Okay,
felt like I was
fair
good.
enough.
Yeah.
I'll back down on that. But yeah, I mean, how about Corey Anderson? Maybe he can get some love next year instead of getting shafted by you.
Corey Anderson, I feel like he always has a bone to pick. And then he tells me that he held back on the gifts.
Yeah,
Whack.
but what an interview today.
Yeah, he's good.
He
He's a great character.
yeah.
I enjoy him. I like when he comes in.
his calm confidence
Yeah.
to me resonates. Like he doesn't need to show you. He doesn't need to be flashy. I'm talking personality wise.
Yeah.
I'm not talking fight wise. He is who he is, and he's very confident in his abilities. He knows where he needs to go. So that came through to me today.
All right. Anything else?
No, I feel like
The first 2 weeks of the year, always very quiet. I think that the major promotions don't like to put on events because NFL playoffs are on Saturday night.
it's also like a hangover. A New
Yeah.
Year's kind of like you got to get up to speed.
We basically get a 2-week off season in MMA, first and second week of January. It's very nice. So there's not much going on this weekend of note. Next weekend, of course, it all ramps up. UFC on ESPN. One has their debut event. LFA has an event. There's just a ton going on. And then, of course, the following week, there's Bellator, et cetera, et cetera. But I say enjoy another weekend.
Go out.
Yeah, have
Have fun.
Have a life.
Yeah.
Have friends. Have
Go to the park.
conversations. Yeah, do things.
Outdoors. Yeah. I love it. I'm in.
All right.
Me and you? We going out?
No.
All
But corporate Jake back there, very nervous. He keeps giving me the countdown. Who exactly is worried about this, Jake? Who?
Also,
It's
by the
very
way,
I wanted to give Eric his shine. We cut him off on New Year's Eve.
I gave corporate Jake's mom a
Yes,
shot.
you
Is
did.
that what
Yes.
you were about to say?
no, well, I was going to say that, but
Oh.
also, like, we were talking about the awards. We got to highlight the trophy here.
I did. Didn't I do that earlier?
You did it earlier in the
You
show.
did. Don't worry, you did.
I gave her a shout out on national television.
And Mama Lebowitz was very, very appreciative.
Was she?
Yes.
Did she see it?
She did.
Was she watching live?
She was at around like 10:30 after dinner.
Not live.
Well, she texted me and was like, "I see him holding up the trophy." And then I
10:30
said-
after dinner. She was watching.
Yeah, and then I said rewind, and you'll see him say your name. And
Oh,
she did.
wow. That's amazing. I love the trophy. I really do. It's simple. And by the way, a lot of fighters have asked me for it. So I hope she's ready to produce at least 18 of these.
Yeah, hey.
Imagine
We'll
we
send it
send
to
it to like Connor, Khabib, and
becoming a
they're
thing.
like standing
Yeah.
there. It's amazing. Also, I want to give a shout out to the ESPN social media team who made those pictures
Yeah.
for every award because a lot of the fighters have, I think, appreciated them and put them out. So thank you very much to everyone who got behind the show. All right, we are out of time. It's time to go home. Thank you, New York Ric. It has
you.
been a great day. Like I said, we are back next week, but in a brand new place. So much changing in our lives, New York Ric.
A lot of changes.
I'm not good with change, I have to say.
You'll be fine.
I feel like that's one thing that I've learned over my 36 years, 36 and a half at this point. I hate change. Makes me anxious, makes me nervous. How about you? Are you good with change?
I can roll with the punches.
Yeah? You're just so easygoing, right?
I'm laid back.
Yeah.
I'm not wound tight at all.
Really? Are you implying that I am?
No, I was actually implying that I am, because I am.
You are.
I'm very much
So you're bad
wound
with
tight.
change.
I'm a creature of habit. I like comfort.
How are you?
Not as bad as you,
Okay.
but bad.
No, I just mean with all this change.
Oh, no, I'm good.
Changing studios, changing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. 2019. Buckle up, my friends. The new era, it is upon us. Again, thank you to all our guests today. Thank you to everyone who stopped by. Thank you to all our viewers and listeners. If you missed anything, check it out. iTunes, Stitcher, ESPN.com, ESPN app, all those places and more. We're back next week. Same time. Again, different place. Until then, I say peace. We're out of here.